Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Chinese Characteristics Podcast. I'm Natalie.
I'm Cherrie.
And she's Chinese. I'm American. And together we talk about the things, the people, the events of China. And we watched a series of 3 films recently about Maoist China. And we were going to do them all in one episode, but we got too passionate about it. And we ended up arguing too long. And so we're going to have to split them up. So I want to set the stage with the first movie in saying it is one of the most interesting movies I've ever seen in my entire life.
Me too.
It was fascinating. And it is a piece of unmitigated propaganda, but it shows a lot, even though it's propaganda, by what it's saying and how it's saying it in a way that only propaganda can. So the movie is breaking with old ideas. And it is a movie that was made near the end of the Cultural Revolution, which is a period in Chinese history where basically Mao, he had lost the kind of Communist Party bureaucracy, the deep state, if you will, had sort of lost faith in him after the Great Leap Forward and all those other things. And he was too important to get rid of. So they just kind of ignored him. Yeah. And then he went around them essentially directly to the people and was like,
Stage a revolution.
But not in any particular direction, not in any particular goal, just rebel, right? Just destroy authority, destroy old pieces of culture, destroy anything that you don't like as an angry 16-year-old, right?
I think really just break the society yet again.
The society.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because Mao, because essentially, again, I don't want to give Mao too much credit, but, China has been conquered before, right? Mao was not the first person to conquer China, either externally or internally, right? He's not the first person to control a united China. And what happens...
They never took about Taiwan. I don't know if about
it's true.
United China.
United China, right? Cherrie, it's one China. What do you mean? What do you mean about the province of Taiwan? Something... But I know they're a little bit different there. They have this weird thing with the passports. But clearly it's part of China.
And they have a president, but we just call them the leader of the region.
We let them
let them do it.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah.
We let them feel like they're independent. But really, Cherrie, we know they're part of China. So, they're not part of China. It's an independent country.
Yeah.
But anyway,
keep going. Sorry. Yeah.
So what usually seems to happen, correct me if I'm wrong, but somebody will take over China and they take over the bureaucracy, but the day-to-day life of the average person often can go on, right? Like the family structures, businesses, who's running what in a town, that can continue on as normal.
Yeah.
And I think essentially, Mao realized that it was healing, right? That even after the Great Leap Forward, even after everything, China was kind of coming back together in a way, as it has done so many times, and healing itself and kind of trying to become...
And it was moving forward towards somewhat of like a socialist, capitalist combination.
Yes.
Right? And the country is trying to make a buck and improve people's lives.
And they're training doctors, they're training engineers, they're training
there's all this effort to modernize and all that stuff. Yeah.
And Mao is like, this sucks.
This has got to stop.
Has got to stop. Right?
The wrong path.
This is the wrong
You don't realize
path.
it?
Yes.
But this is the wrong path to go down.
This is the wrong path.
Yeah.
So he's like, we got to stop this, right? Shut down the schools.
Or he's just like, no one listens to me anymore.
Yeah, or that.
It might not have had a deeper ideological reason.
I'm giving Mao a lot of credit here. That he has this deep ideological conviction and that he's not just grumpy because no one is listening to him anymore about how great he is.
I think that's very possible.
Very
plausible.
So he starts this revolution. He starts this thing. He does a Datsu Bao, which says Datsu Bao is big character posters.
I don't know if he does by himself, but he certainly
started
the trend or promoted it.
He endorses a very large. Cherrie gave me a thumbs up. You can't see because this is audio only. He endorses a very large Dasabao, which says bombard the headquarters, which it's basically Dasabao is like big Chinese poster. Think of it like it just means any. I would say it means.
What's the literal meaning of Dasabao?
It means big character poster, and the whole thing doesn't have to be big characters, but it's some sort of either statement or an essay, but the title is large enough in Chinese characters that you can see it walking by from a distance, essentially, right? And the one that he said that bombard the headquarters is huge, right? It's on like the top of a government building or something. He put it there. So basically that starts it off, tells people we need to destroy the state.
Yes.
We need to destroy the schools. We need to destroy the state.
The bureaucracy. The local government.
Yeah.
Anything of authority.
Yes.
Just free for all.
Yes.
We're recording, by the way, right?
Yeah, we're recording.
Okay.
If you want to ride on a train and the train conductor says, you need a ticket, guess what?
Beat him up.
Yeah, beat him up.
That's capitalist.
Yeah, don't you see this red guard uniform?
Yeah.
Don't you love the revolution? So, anyway, so this movie was made in 1975, and it is near the end of the Cultural Revolution, well into the time when everybody, including Mao, I would say, realizes this thing has gotten completely out of control.
When did Mao pass away?
So he died in 1976. So even Mao, I think at this point was like, this is kind of out of control here. So
he sent all the people, all the red guards to the countryside.
Yes.
At this point.
So I think this movie is fascinating because this is a movie made near the end, one of the few movies made during the Cultural Revolution because everything was essentially shut down. And it is both an explanation of Mao's policies, I would say. It's a very sort of succinct explanation of how Maoism differs from regular communism.
Yeah.
It is a rewriting of history.
Yeah.
For like the Great Leap Forward and that era, and it's also sort of a rewriting. It is a justification and also a rewriting of the Great Leap Forward.
Yeah.
Or not the Great Leap Forward, the Cultural Revolution.
The Great Leap Forward and the Cultural Revolution.
And the Cultural Revolution. So I took a lot of notes, Cherrie.
Yeah.
So Cherrie is going to be shaking her head the whole time as I talk about these things because they're...
Why would I be shaking my head?
Right. So the movie, again, there's going to be a lot of sarcasm in this. And I might sound more excited than usual podcast because it was just...
It seems like you're really influenced by this propaganda movie.
I am, Cherrie. Because it was obviously a terrible time. But this movie is just so interesting. And it's so insane. Yeah. And okay, so everybody should watch it. It is on... You can get it on YouTube. And it's also on the Internet Archive. If you Google...
Breaking with old ideas.
Breaking with old ideas. It's on the link to the Wikipedia page on the bottom. So I think it's open to sort of domain, right? I don't think we're promoting.
It's on the National Archives.
Yeah, I don't think we're promoting any sort of piracy.
It's just Google Breaking with Old Ideas National Archives, and you will find the official link for it.
Okay, so the movie starts in 1958, which would be the first year of the Great Leap Forward, and we have our hero, who is Principal Long, or soon to be Principal Long, as he is riding a raft of bamboo down the river and singing about how great China is rushing forward to the future and everything.
Yeah.
So it's clear, once he gets to the end of the river, that he is actually someone of some importance in the village or community, right? But he is just a simple laborer, Cherrie. He's just,
Salt of the earth.
Salt of the earth.
Yeah.
He's doing the bamboo because he loves it, right?
Yeah, he loves it.
He's tan. He's like kind of well built.
Yeah.
He's handsome, right? White teeth. He is just he's the model peasant. So he and everybody's cheering the Great Leap Forward. Yeah. So he gets called to his old commander in the revolution, because this man is a hero.
Yeah.
This man was in Yan'an.
Yeah.
He was in the caves with Mao.
I know. They are.
No one can question if this man knows what communism is.
So he's the commander, is the local party secretary at this point.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
So he arrives, in his own words, at great leap forward speed. But there's a problem, Cherrie. He runs into something on the way.
Yeah.
Something that concerns him.
Yeah.
What does he run into?
He ran into a couple of young students who are complaining to each other that they don't want to be sent to the countryside, to a labor camp.
Yeah.
In reality, but obviously the party lines that to experience.
Yes.
I don't know, to be amongst the people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because
it's something you're supposed to want to do.
Yes, because
it's
obviously the first thing you should want to do after you've escaped the countryside, gone to a college, is go back and live in a hut and teach people how to cut rice. So
even though you don't really know how to cut rice.
You don't know how to cut rice. Yeah. So they don't want to go back, and but Principal Lung is concerned.
He's like, I don't know if I like that.
These kids sound like bourgeoisie.
Yeah.
I don't know about this whole college thing. So Principal Lung goes and talks to the local party secretary. The local party secretary says, I want to put you in charge of this new labor college that we're building because you have the right ideas. You understand that the purpose of college students is to essentially be better educated peasants. So
did they explicitly say that?
No,
I think he said, actually he did say, you truly understand Maoist theories.
Yes.
And you're amongst you're one of the people. You get it.
Yes.
Yeah. So we're sending you there to build a college.
Yes.
That's the kind of people we need.
And he's like, I don't know anything about building a college because he's just a simple man, Cherrie.
Yeah.
But they go, that's exactly why we're sending you to do the college because you're completely unqualified to do it, right? So
what? So with the speed of the Great Leap Forward, he goes.
Yes, he goes with the Great Leap Forward speed. Goes and first meets the vice principal. And the vice principal is talking to the whole committee on the school. And they have just agreed that they're going to build the school next to the city, next to the river. It's going to be lots of nice air, good scenery, easy access to all the industry and the students.
To the roads, to resources.
The transportation.
Yeah.
That just seems like the smart place to put a college. But then Principal Lung, he meets...
He's like, no.
Yeah. Well, first, the vice principal's daughter, he meets her first.
Yeah.
Little girl, and she goes to get...
She's like 15.
Okay, she goes to get her dad.
Yeah.
Principal Lung is such a salt-of-the-earth laborer that he adjusts the laundry that's just sitting there on the line. That has nothing to do with him, just because he loves working so much. He loves labor, Cherrie.
Yeah. He's like,
and that's why he's always so happy. That's why he's always laughing. So he goes in and he goes, no, we're going to build a college. Well, he doesn't even say no. They go, we decided we're going to build a college. And he goes, yeah, we're going to build it on the mountain. And everyone's like, what?
Why would you do that?
Why would you do that? And he goes, because that's where the peasants are.
Yeah.
Right?
And we don't want to be next to the city.
We don't want to be next to the city. That's going to corrupt our youth.
Yeah. We want to be as far away from all these urban center, these
we don't want
pretentious
our students
places.
Just studying all day.
As far away as possible.
That's for nerds, Cherrie. We want our students building roads and farming and cutting down bamboo in the forest. So now we have the central plot of the movie, which is essentially the central plot of communism in China, which is you have Soviet-style, technocratic communism, where you try and train efficient bureaucrats to run this command economy. Yeah. And then you have Maoist communism, which is basically like you have peasants as the kind of lowest unit of labor, kind of just doing stuff on their own, and that any centralization or any bureaucracy or any overly skilled people are like a threat.
Sure, you could say that.
Right.
I mean, I don't think they're against management.
No, but
I think they're just against intellectual.
But they're against
management.
Yeah, against intellectual. Right. They're for the old peasant in the village. Yes. Right. Yeah. Managing the commune. But they're not for if the skilled technocrat who has studied at a university in Moscow comes and goes, well, actually, we should probably plant the rice like this.
No, don't.
They go, no. You know nothing.
No.
Right.
Yeah.
So
it tries to tell that story.
Yes.
Through Principal Long's
Eyes is the protagonist.
yes, and he's the protagonist who's trying to build this school now. That's
Yes.
his task.
Yes.
And through his journey, to tell the theory and how he does
And
it.
one thing we will discover, in my
Yeah.
opinion, though, as much as tries to be propaganda,
Yeah.
we will find that Principal Lung's version of communism, even in a movie that's designed to promote it, doesn't really make sense.
Yeah, you're giving it away though.
Okay, I know. But
It makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. It totally works.
Yeah.
Knowledge and communism can be learned in a book, or knowledge and communism or Maoism can only be learned by the experience of being a peasant.
Of getting your hands dirty.
Of getting your hands dirty.
Be with the people.
and being
Yeah,
with
that's the only
people,
way. Yeah.
Right? So that's the dilemma. And I wouldn't say that there's a villain, even though one side is clearly shown to be right in the film. It's just a disagreement. No one's going to get killed over this.
The whole movie was shown to be just professional, disagreements.
Yes.
It's all very civil, but let's tell the story.
Yeah.
What's the plot?
So Principal Lung wins this round. But then they're like, well, where are we
He
gonna,
wins the round that they're going to build the school in the mountains.
In the mountains.
Yeah, okay.
So, but then they're like, where are we going to get students? Right? We can't even get enough students already. Who's going to want to go up to the mountain? So
Yeah.
Principal Lung goes to the testing center, where there is a man who looks like the most the most severe caricature
Yeah.
you can imagine of a bourgeoisie intellectual.
Yeah.
He's got thick glasses. He's scrawny. He's pale. He's got a mustache. The
only thing he's lack of?
what is he lacking?
A Q.
Oh, okay, so that's the only thing that makes him look slightly different from like a imperial servant, right?
Yeah.
So I think he's supposed to be kind of like a combination of a KMT bureaucrat and an imperial official,
I think so.
because he's sitting in this building
Yeah.
that looks like a Chinese restaurant in Wisconsin. It looks like a caricature of a Chinese building.
It's a very traditional looking Chinese
Yes.
building in the middle of this
field almost.
field. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really a very presented as a very poor town, right?
Yes. But in this poor town,
Yeah.
there's this big building,
Yes.
and that's the knowledge building, Cherry.
Yes.
And he won't even let the peasants in
Yes.
to take the test because he doesn't think the peasants are even qualified. But he's not even checking, Cherry. He won't even let them in the building. Do you know what he
looks
is?
at them. He goes, "Nah,
He goes, no,
you're a peasant."
you're not college material, Cherry.
Yeah. By the way, can I just self promotion here?
Yeah.
If you want to know more about the Q, the pigtail, the
Okay,
braid.
That's a really casual advertisement. Yeah, watch our first episode, the
Yeah,
pigtail.
we'll put the
ordinance.
link down below.
Yeah. So, Cherry, why? I thought Mao liberated the peasants, Cherry.
Mm-hmm.
And now, this man, this gatekeeper for the bourgeoisie,
Yeah.
won't even let them come in and take the
That's
test.
the question
Yeah.
raised by the peasants at the scene.
Why?
They go, "We've been liberated
Yes.
for 9 years."
Yes.
So this is the 9 year. This is 1958, 9 years after
Yeah.
after 1949, the PRC has been established.
Yes.
Well, they go, "How is it possible that we're still being suppressed by, I guess, this one little dry, skinny,
Yes.
grandfather
Yeah.
who just, looks down on them?
Yes.
On looks like 100 of 18-year-olds.
And so everyone's in
Yeah.
there. The other bourgeoisie are in there taking tests. But Principal Lung shows
Are
up.
they bourgeoies?
I don't know, whatever. They're
I
people.
mean, they can read and they can write, so
Yeah.
they're bourgeoisies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
by this definition.
Yeah.
But Principal Lung shows up and he goes, let me in.
No. On the way to the testing center,
Yeah.
the Chinese restaurant,
Yeah.
the Chinese restaurant building.
Yeah.
They so he went with the vice principal's daughter, who's this 15, 16-year-old girl.
Yeah.
And he was asking her, "Oh, what do you want to be when you grow up?"
Yeah.
And she goes, "Oh, I want to be a physicist or a teacher or something, right?"
Yeah.
And he goes, "Oh no, you should be a laborer instead."
Yeah. You should be a laborer.
Yeah. And
But
he was
she-
saying it in such a casual. She didn't really acknowledge it. She
Yeah,
was like,
she
"Haha,"
acknowledged it.
but he was saying it as if she was saying, "Oh, I want to be a prostitute," and he was saying, "No, you should be a doctor instead."
Yeah.
So it's a completely reversed, and not to say that a laborer
You're
is
just
bad.
correcting a wayward child, a child who doesn't understand the world, Cherry, because
because why would she want to be a physicist?
No, because she's been infected
Yeah.
with bourgeoisie
Yeah.
intellectualism.
And to put a disclaimer here. We don't think being a laborer is there's anything wrong with it.
Yes.
What he meant is not really like, why don't you be, to be a worker or whatever.
Yeah.
He really meant, why don't you be someone who's not an intellectual?
Yes.
That's what he was saying.
Yes. Why don't you avoid knowledge?
Yeah. Right.
So he arrives at the place.
Yeah.
He goes in and he goes, Dean, why aren't you letting these peasants take the test? And he goes, they don't have enough education to understand the courses.
Yeah. Some of them don't even know how to read. So like they're not going to be able to catch up.
But Cherrie, how could you not allow them when he looks at their hands and they're covered in calluses, Cherrie?
So the first student.
Yeah.
Okay. Principal Long had admitted.
Yeah.
What was his criteria? How did he decide that he's going to accept the student?
I'm explaining it, Cherrie.
Okay.
He looked at his hands.
Yeah.
And he said, look at these calluses. These are the hands of a worker. How could we not allow this hardworking peasant into the college?
Yeah.
His calluses on his hands are his qualifications.
Yeah.
Right? And the dean?
Can't argue with that.
The dean is a gatekeeper for the bourgeoisie. So he doesn't like this.
Yeah.
But they let the peasant in.
Yeah.
Because that's what Mao did for China. So
also he's the principal.
Also he's the principal.
Like sent by the party.
Yeah.
So he has the power here.
So if the dean doesn't want to get struggle session to death,
exactly. Yeah.
Let him in. So then they let there's a couple other characters, but I also want to focus on there's another the one guy with the calluses, he wants to be a veterinarian, I think. And then there's a girl, well, she's a woman. She looks like she's in her early 20s maybe. And the whole village wants her to join. And
she seems to be a very, very beloved character.
Yeah, but she was a child bride, Cherrie.
Yeah.
She was beaten every day. But Mao saved her, Cherrie. Mao liberated
her.
Now she can go to college.
Yeah.
Even though she already has a daughter. But the dean doesn't like that she has a daughter. Doesn't like that she doesn't like she has a daughter. Doesn't like that she's a peasant. So they ask her to write something to prove that she can write. You know what she writes, Cherrie?
What did she write?
She writes, Chairman Mao is our liberator, right?
Yeah.
And what other qualifications can there be?
Do you need?
To join a college?
That's it. Yeah.
That's what I'm gonna do. If I ever go back to UCI, they're gonna be like, so you're gonna need to take these tests. So I'm gonna take the test. So I'm just gonna write Chairman Mao. Go bam. Right?
Yeah.
What else do you need?
Yes.
So
can we talk about the scene where she had her daughter with her? Yeah. So she had her daughter with her, right? And their caricature, right? This dean who's just this stereotypical, very one-dimensional character who obviously through the scene hates women and like is such a sexist because the Communist Party is not. He goes, "What? How are you gonna go to the college with a daughter?"
He has incorrect thoughts.
I know, right? And she casually just goes, "Oh, my mother," or like I forgot. She said, "My mother," or like my mother-in-law will take care of her, right? Yeah. Problem solved. So obviously they're trying to show that Principal Long didn't like care, right? He didn't think it would be a disqualification for her.
Yeah.
But obviously her justification, yes, like I get it. Like, woman cares to have the sky, which, feminism in China, it's a weird,
it's
thing.
A convenient feminism.
It's a convenient feminism.
It's a feminism not trying. It's a feminism that realizes, oh, we can get some work out of these people. Right?
Yeah. Right? So they have the same status as the other workers. Yes. But yes, and then her answer is not that the state will have state-sponsored childcare, or that there will be the village will have a commune that takes care of all the college students' children. Another woman in her life, will take the time and effort and be taken advantage of and provide childcare.
Well, you don't want anyone watching this video in China in 1970 and go, "Oh wait, why don't we get childcare?" Like, why? They're like, "Oh, that village has childcare."
Yeah, right.
Why don't we get childcare?
Yeah, no, I know, right? So it's not a feminist idea that it's just her mother-in-law who takes care of it because it's another woman who has to take care of a child.
Yes, another woman who has to do it.
Yeah, right.
So he lets the students in, and they want to bow to him. But Principal Long, even though he's a war hero, Cherrie, even though he's done them this great service, even though he was in Yan'an with Mao,
let me guess,
he says, don't bow to me, Cherrie.
Yeah.
He says, this is the new China.
Yeah.
We're comrades now. Even though in every Chinese movie of the period that has a marriage ceremony, they all bow to Chairman Mao. So
exactly.
So I don't know.
He's the only one you can bow
okay,
to. You know
so
what
I guess he's the only one you can bow to.
I mean, they literally say "Long live Chairman Mao," which is a very old idea.
Yes. That's like,
there's nothing new about it.
Long live the emperor.
Yeah, right.
Oh, the other thing that was famous about that lady was she was the first to denounce the landlords in her village, which presumably is referencing land reform. Where basically,
I mean, she's the first one who like decided to cast a stone.
The first
and like
one,
kill them or like beat them up.
To throw a brick.
I mean, no, she's a child bride. You know, she really suffered
she's a hero,
at the hands of the
this fictional character. She's a hero. So
and she's a feminist icon.
Yeah,
because her mother-in-law takes care of the child.
Exactly. So Principal Lung brings in some teachers. He brings in his old army buddy, who's an artillery captain, and then we start a musical number because they're building this labor college.
Yeah.
And do you know one of the big things about this labor college that they are really proud of? It's not going to cost the communist government any money because instead of just learning all day, they're going to go out and do labor.
They're going to contribute.
They're going to go do labor for the school, and the school's going to get the money from their labor.
Yeah. Wait, were they proud? Were they proud that the college is not going to cost the party any money?
They're bragging that the college isn't going to cost any money.
Ask not what your country can do for you.
Yes.
Ask what you can do for your country.
You're supposed to give everything to the state. You're not supposed to expect the state to also take care of you, right? Like, you give everything to the state, and whatever scraps you get, you're supposed to be fanatically grateful for.
Yeah.
I mean, and this movie is basically saying that, and it's not trying to hide it. It's like saying like,
it's very proud at the fact.
It's very proud that the college isn't going to cost the state any money.
Yeah.
Which is, kind of like our modern concept of socialism is that.
So anyone who's comparing communism to socialist like
or
agendas.
Maoism.
Yeah, that's different.
Yeah. Right. Because I mean, the modern concept of socialism is like, well, of course it's going to cost the state money, right? You want the state to be paying for it, right? What else would the state be spending money on? I guess retaking Taiwan or something. But so they sing a song, and they're building the school out of bamboo, even though later we see the school and it's clearly a multi-story concrete building. So they're building. But
they built it. They built it. They didn't cost
out of bamboo.
The government 1 cent.
Yeah, and one reoccurring character is like the local like leader of the commune, the labor commune.
Yeah.
Who's like this old peasant, and one of the teachers at the school is like this young, pretty teacher, and he asks her to bring him some old bamboo because I guess old bamboo is stronger, and then she brings in the bamboo and she's like. And he's like, this is not old bamboo. And she's like, well, it's the biggest I could find. I assume the big bamboo was
older bamboo, yeah.
Right? Because it grows. And he's like, you have so much to learn. How can you call yourself a teacher if you don't know how to cut bamboo?
Yeah.
And she's like, you're right. Will you accept me as your student?
In life.
Because, Cherrie, I mean, all of her knowledge is from a book.
Yeah.
She doesn't know how the world works.
She doesn't know anything. She has no contribution.
No.
Even she might be a math teacher.
What has math ever done for anyone, Cherrie?
Yeah, nothing.
You don't need math to build a house out of bamboo. Right? You don't need math.
I wonder why didn't they just hire him as the teacher? They didn't seem to do that, actually. She was kept on as a teacher.
Yeah.
So
all the teachers are like kind of intellectual types. Yeah. Except for the artillery guy, but he's an expert too, right? He's not,
I guess, in artillery.
Or he's the tractor repair guy. So again, this kind of goes back to the initial kind of dilemma of the thing is like knowledge doesn't come from a book, right? To be a good communist of modern China, knowledge comes from like labor, essentially, right?
Yeah.
And again, I'm
not
an expert.
Wrong. Labor will practice.
Yes, but
will give you knowledge.
But it only gives you the knowledge that you're initially experiencing, right?
What it's saying is, I mean, I think essentially it's not just knowledge comes from one and the other.
Yeah.
It's essentially saying knowledge comes from the books are useless.
Yes.
You just
yeah, right.
and that only corrupts you.
Yes.
Not only that, you shouldn't learn it, you should despise it.
It corrupts you, it makes you prideful, and it makes you arrogant.
Yeah.
Now, again, I'm not an expert on Maoism, although I did vote for Bernie Sanders in the primary, so I'm about 75% of the way there, right? Maybe 80 on being an expert.
The perfect argument.
On being an expert Maoist.
Have you been watching Fox News?
So
are we heading towards communism?
Yeah, we are. Again, so I don't know all of the literature. This is what this movie is presenting.
Yeah.
As Maoist, because right as they show a lot of these scenes, a lot of times they're preceded by either somebody quoting Mao's pictures in the background, or somebody puts down a book. Somebody puts down a book that says Mao's thoughts, right?
He's everywhere.
He's everywhere. So I'm taking this as an official endorsement, at least of one aspect of Maoism. So
that seems to be all we talk about nowadays.
Maoism?
Endorsements of the Communist Party and Maoism.
Yeah.
We really need to pick different topics.
No, it's so much fun. It's the gift that keeps giving. So I was thinking the Labor College. They do lectures. They take political lectures.
Yeah.
The instructors a lot of them are military, and they have to spend all day laboring. And it made me think, you know what? It's kind of just a prisoner of war camp. You know what I mean? God. It sounds like when Americans got put in when their bombers got shot down in Korea. But anyway, so but the labor
to be re-educated.
You have to be re-educated, right?
Yeah.
They're I mean, this is probably very similar to where you got put if you were seen as like a rightist or something and you got put in a work camp.
No, but this is these people are full of hope.
Yeah, this is like
they're just
that, but with singing.
What?
It's like that, but with singing.
Yeah, that was folk songs.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So this is not the only labor college at this time, right?
Yeah.
They're building a wave of labor colleges all over the country, and they don't really know what this is going to be.
Yes.
They're just at the early stages.
They're just figuring it out. And as we'll see, they have different views of what the labor college should be.
Yeah.
So the Principal Long seems to think it should just basically be about practical skills that are useful for peasants in the region. Yeah. So we should learn how to take care of pigs.
Better peasants.
We should make better peasants, right? We should learn how to take care of pigs, how to build roads.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that sounds like engineers.
Yeah, no, but not steel bridges, right? Fix tractors, that kind of stuff, right?
Practical
skills that keep you humble, and that you should also do labor. But the dean and the vice principal, they come up with a syllabus that's basically like, okay, we've looked at the colleges in China, we've looked at what everyone else is doing,
and colleges abroad.
And if we follow this syllabus, we're going to get first class graduates, right? Who are experts in their fields.
Yes.
And Principal Lung goes, no, that's too difficult, right? These are peasants, partially because he let in all these peasants. So now he's bound to these peasants, right?
He's got to make sure they can
right?
So, yeah.
So he's bound by his earlier decision to let in the peasants. He goes, they're not going to be able to do this. So I think either the vice principal or the dean goes like, well, Confucius had 3,000 students. Mm-hmm. And only 180 of them became like great wise sages.
Yeah.
So basically, like, if they can't hack it, we'll let them out. But if we don't have a high education, no one's going to become an expert.
Yes.
And Principal Long, when they say Confucius, he looks like somebody just pooped in his tea. Right? He looks like mother. Did somebody
say Confucius? Did someone say that's the example to follow?
Did somebody say Confucius in my communist labor college?
Right.
I didn't spend 5 years digging tunnels in Yunnan and watching political dances to have somebody invoke Confucius.
Yeah.
But it's not really clear if he wins this one, because it goes on now to show they're teaching a class, mm-hmm. and the professor is the dean, who's like a veterinarian, mm-hmm. and he keeps on trying to talk about what the function of a horse's tail is.
Well, no, he said there's this fake horse, and he said it's fun. I mean, why is it funny? They only have a fake horse. Okay.
He draws with like chalk.
Yeah, and he draws another horse with the chalk. And he's like, last lecture we talked about like a horse's stomach, like a horse's legs or whatever. Yeah. And today we're gonna talk. This is a horse autonomy class, right? Like, and today we're gonna talk about the functions of a horse tail. Yeah. And the students are like, what?
So then he gets interrupted.
Yeah.
Because a farmer, a peasant, has brought in his water buffalo. Yeah. Because apparently it's sick. And the professor's like, hey, I'm trying to teach a class here.
It was a very healthy looking water buffalo, by the way. I don't know anything about water buffaloes, but like it looked fine.
It looked fine.
At least they could tried harder.
Apparently it's very sick, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, no, it's so sick. And he's
he went to the classroom.
And they're like, and he's like, no, I'm teaching a class. And he's like, this is the best water buffalo in the whole village. And if it dies, we'll be terrible.
Yeah.
Turns out it doesn't die, which is kind of.
I don't think it died. Yeah.
Because later we see its kid.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Right. So anyway, so he's like, no. But one of the vet students, who's a peasant, is like, why won't you look at this water buffalo? And he's like, you're teaching us about horses. Who cares about horses? We're not in Inner Mongolia. We're peasants. We live on a mountain. Yeah. I'm never going to see a horse in my...
Well, you wouldn't be able to go to Inner Mongolia if you wanted to because there's Hukou system. But
now you can't go because
that's another...
they're next on the...
Yeah, but his argument is like, this doesn't seem practical.
No, it doesn't seem practical.
These knowledge that we might use one day is completely useless to me.
Yes.
And... let's treat the buffalo.
That's not the purpose of a college trade. The purpose of college isn't to create well-rounded.
Yes. Also, there's no consideration that this teacher might not be able to treat a buffalo on demand. Like, he might not know about...
He's like, I need my tools. I gotta, get the stuff. Like, you know what I mean? It's
what if he doesn't know much about buffaloes? What if he just only knows about horses, you know? Who knows? Yeah. But it doesn't matter.
But he refused
to treat the buffalo.
He refuses to treat the buffalo because he is bourgeoisie chair. He is poisoned by intellectualism. But
they just assume that he has something to give and he refused to give it.
Yes.
That's the... Yeah.
So, the peasant... veterinarian, the one who had the calluses on his hand, I believe, is like, how dare you not treat this buffalo? And he's basically like, sit down. So the veterinarian student puts up a datsubao, which is a big character poster like we talked about earlier. Yeah. And it says, I don't know, it says something in Chinese.
It says less about horses, more about pigs and water buffaloes. Okay. Apparently because there's a lot of pigs and water buffaloes in the region.
Yes.
So they felt like, he's like, we should care about that.
Yeah, we should care about that.
I don't agree with your syllabus.
So they go, you need to take down that datsubao.
Yeah.
So if this was the Cultural Revolution, if this had happened in 1975 when the movie was being filmed, the dean would have been killed.
Well, all be shaved his head and publicly humiliated.
Yeah, right. I mean, he might not have been killed, right? But I mean, he would have been. It would have been very bad for him.
It would have been, yeah.
Yes, but this is a movie that's trying to paint.
He would be a rightist.
Yeah, a calmer version of China, right? Yeah. Where everybody is nice and everybody gets along. Yeah. So they go, you need to take down that datsubao. It's disrupting the school. Yeah. So he goes, okay. So he takes it down and he puts up a bigger datsubao. He puts up.
That's the same content.
He puts up the same thing but bigger with bigger letters on a bigger sheet of paper.
Yeah.
So the principal along comes and he goes like, okay, what happened? And they go, and the dean and the vice principal, who are the bourgeoisie intellectuals, they go, we're going to learn about horses eventually. We've got a syllabus.
Buffaloes.
Yeah, water buffaloes eventually, sorry. Yeah. We got a syllabus. We can't just stop anytime.
Because there's one sick buffalo outside.
We're training 30 veterinarians here.
Yeah.
Principal Lung makes the argument that it's like, if you're teaching people things and it's not immediately useful to the peasantry, to the world around them, it's bourgeoisie intellectualism. Yeah. And it shouldn't be done. Mm-mm. So
the syllabus is wrong.
So the dean and the vice principal, though, they go back and they go like, are we running a college or a farm? Right? If they want to learn how to take care of a water buffalo, you could have just stayed a peasant, right? The whole point of a college is teaching knowledge, right? That then you can then bring out into the world to experience.
Which is a good point.
They make a good argument. He's like, what's the political consciousness of 2 + 2 = 4, right?
Well, because I thought that was a good speech because they said, is 2 + 2 = 4 political?
Yeah.
I don't know. Is there another example that they
he makes a couple kind of examples, but he basically saying not all knowledge that these people need to learn is going to be immediately useful in these situations, but you still have to learn it. Yeah. And just because if he had wandered, well, they don't make this argument, but if he had wandered up with a sick horse instead of a sick water buffalo,
I wouldn't treat it either.
Right, just because it happened that day, right?
Yeah. Also, to learn about horses is not anti-revolutionary.
No, right?
It's not bourgeoisie. It's not political.
Yes.
That's their argument.
So it's actually a fairly good argument. And Principal Long, basically,
I mean, I think the movie wants you to think it's the bad argument.
I know, which is interesting because they're very convincing, right?
Yeah.
And it's interesting they put such a convincing argument in the mouths of the people who are supposed to be wrong.
But I mean, we think it's convincing.
Oh, that's true, right?
But in the world that it tries to portray, and in the world that Mao perhaps tried to create in China, that is supposed to be wrong.
Yes, I guess that is supposed to be wrong, right? You're supposed to immediately recognize.
Which is fascinating because they don't hide it.
And sometimes, though, in societies like that, you want the arguments to be convincing. You want people to repeat things that they know are lies, because then they lose a connection to the truth, right? They no longer question, like, is this true? All they know is, like, this is the part. So you
desensitize them.
You desensitize them to it, right?
Yeah. Gotcha.
So anyway, so the principal, the vice principal, and the dean are like, okay, Principal Long, it's like he's got PTSD, right? Yeah. He's still living in the caves of Yunnan with Mao.
And they're getting bombed by the wartime.
Yes, of the Kuomintang and the Japanese.
Yeah.
He doesn't realize that we're moving forward in China.
Yeah.
We're not going to be peasants anymore, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
These people, we're training a new generation who are going to be knowledgeable, right? And, you know, this is all sounding very good. This is the villain.
Yeah, but this is not what you're supposed to think.
I know. But
you're supposed to think, no,
a new
that
generation
is not what you want.
Of experts who are as good as anywhere in the world, and they're going to bring China up. Essentially, no one's going to have to be a peasant.
Yeah, but Mao thinks you just want us to be capitalists. Yes. This is... sorry. Yes. There's more to it later.
So it's almost like, I mean, it's to an extent, it's a question of like, Mao almost doesn't seem to believe that there's ever going to be a bigger pie. No. Like the pie is a set size, and that it has to be split. It's not like you can make the pie bigger so everybody gets more, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's like if the intellectuals get something, they're taking it away from the peasants.
Oh yeah.
It's not like you can then go back and make society better.
It's a zero-sum game.
It's a zero-sum game, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, so they have a very benign plot. The vice principal. They go like, okay, we'll send him. We need somebody to go on this special trip to visit all the colleges and see what they're doing. We'll send Principal Long. I think they even get with the regional party guy, and they go like, we'll send Principal Long.
The regional party people are actually on the vice principal and the Ding's side. Yes. They're not on Principal Long's side.
Is the only one who thinks that this should essentially be like a POW camp.
Yeah. Well, he's
he's right, Cherrie.
Yeah, he's right.
He's right. So they're like, we'll send him on this tour of all of our nation's great colleges, and he'll go there and he'll see them and he'll realize like, oh, these are good, right? These are producing.
He will be convinced. He'll be sold. He will be convinced. This official colleges and that, like,
yes, yeah. So he goes on the train and he sits next to a lady who is going to see her son who's at the college, right? And this would be like a prestigious college, right? Like Taiping University or something, right? It's not supposed to be like a rural college.
Look very official.
Look very official.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, wow. And she's like, yeah, I'm bringing him all these presents from our village. We're all so proud that our peasant son can go to this university. So he gets there. And then the grandmother goes to see her son. But, Cherrie, do you know what he is?
I think it's the mother. It's not.
Oh, it's the mother?
Yeah,
she looks really old. I guess peasant life is tough.
Yeah, but she's the peasant. She's suffered a lot. This is precisely the reason why movies like these are so important.
Yeah, to show people how tough. So, but her son has turned into a nerd, Cherrie.
Well, I don't think he's turned into a nerd.
He's turned into a nerd, Cherrie. She's like, you're wearing glasses now. You're so pale. You're so scrawny. Do you know why, Cherrie? Because he just studies all day. Yeah. He has lost his connection to labor. He has lost his connection to peasantry. Yeah. And do you know what he's become? Bourgeoisie intellectual.
He has, yeah.
She brings him new little cotton slippers. And he goes, no, come on, Mom. I can't do that.
And then
she looks down.
The camera moves slowly down to his feet. And it's these like loafers. like leather loafers.
Leather like dress shoes.
Yeah.
And it pans down. the delivery isn't the same way in a sci-fi movie. You find out someone's an alien.
I know.
You find out someone like has the alien parasite in them.
It's just so crazy.
You pan down and it's like, oh my God, she thinks
dun, 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 dun.
he's turned into a bourgeoisie intellectual.
Yeah.
No, and she almost collapses.
I know. And then he's wearing dress shirt.
Yeah.
He's wearing khaki pants, which is just apparently just a big no.
And he's not
his touch.
And the funny thing is, though, he's not really that rude to her. He's kind of just like, come on, Ma, I'm not going to wear this stuff. Don't make fun of me.
Well, I mean, he's like what a teenager does.
I know. He's like I got to go study, you know?
Yeah. Also, and then she's like, you've changed.
Yeah.
How could you? You've changed.
But, you know...
Like, don't you want to come back?
Yeah.
You said
come back to the village and come like
stop this school like
come
nonsense.
Like kill sparrows with us. So
no, and he says, no, I don't want to go back. I'm a college student. I'm an intellectual now.
He made it, Cherrie.
And Principal Long
though,
somehow on the outside, like the window, eavesdropping, which is very rude.
Principal Long is always in the right place at the right time to stop the bourgeoisie.
Yeah.
So he just happens to be walking by the window. He looks in.
Here's the whole conversation.
He looks in and he's like, "Oh my God, these fancy colleges are turning people into nerds, bourgeoisie intellectuals." And then he goes on a tour of the fields, and there's a college student examining how the rice is growing. Yeah. And he just picks up a stalk of rice and he looks at it and he's like, okay, he writes something down, he puts it on the ground. Yeah. And then the farmer's like, oh, could you take a little bit less rice? And the guy's like, when you look at it, and the guy's like, you know, like what's a stick of rice compared to like my doctoral thesis, right?
Yeah. This is gonna be so much more contribution that you could ever imagine.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you know what? He's probably right.
Yeah, but you know, they portrayed him doing it in a very insensitive way, which but like with the political consciousness of people at this time, everyone knows these political movements are going on. Yeah, you would not dare.
You would not dare to do that.
To like say that, right? You would be very careful.
Yeah, well, it's rewriting history. Yeah, to say. To
show these people as the bad.
We had to do the Cultural Revolution. Yeah. Because these people were so arrogant.
Yeah, they took a handful of rice. They just
threw the man's rice on the ground.
How could they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so Principal Long is not convinced. Yeah. He is like, you know what?
He only reaffirmed.
He's like, no, we gotta stop this. Yeah. We gotta not do this at my labor college. So then it cuts back to the college. But Principal Long is gone still. And the peasants are concerned because they found these bugs on the mountain. The peasant lady, the child bride.
Let's just say call her the comrade.
I forget her name. The comrade. Yeah. She's there. And she's like, I recognize those insects in the rice fields. We learned it from class. Yeah, we learned it from class. It's this special type of bug. It's like called like night eater or something.
Yeah, you have to kill them tonight.
Yeah, we have to kill them tonight, but they don't normally live on this mountain. And I was like, oh. So let me get this straight.
You learned it in school?
You learned it in school. You learned about a bug that isn't supposed to be in this region. Yeah. That's not useful. Yeah. None of the peasants know about it.
Maybe the movie makers tried to like sneak this in. Maybe they had to do a propaganda movie. And they're like, let's sneak this in.
Well, it should have been like, it really should have been.
Because it's so perfect. Because it's a bug that usually is not here. Yeah. So the local farmers will never recognize it if they didn't have a textbook that would teach this sort of useless knowledge.
Yes. So in reality, that scene. So basically, the plot is it's like the students go help do the fields and they miss their test because
midterm exam
because they have to go help the peasants fumigate the fields and kill the bugs.
They had to do it that night,
and they worked all night. And
there's no one on the field because it's an organized labor. They've sent all people away to do something else.
So the college students are the only ones who can save it. Yeah. So comrade lady, she organizes everybody. They do it. They only know about it because they learned about it in a book. And I was just like, okay, so you would think what it should have been if they were gonna make it more effective, is she should have found the bug, and the village like labor leader should have been like, oh, this is this bug, we have to do it, right? Yeah. Or she would misidentify it, right? Because she would only know about bugs from books, right? She was never seen a bug.
Yeah, I know. What a lost opportunity.
I know. So anyway, they invalidate the entire thesis of the film by having her learn something from a book that none of the peasants know and makes the peasants' life better.
I know.
So, but then they kind of say like, oh, but she knows she still has her class consciousness, right? She knows that she has to help these people. Yeah. Right? So I guess the Communist Labor College still did the right
also
job.
The class consciousness is like, if she doesn't help them, if these college students who had nothing to do with, there's all these adults around who are supposed to be responsible, but they're not, apparently far away, conveniently, right? And these are the only people who can save it. And if they don't, it's like all of the people from this whole region are gonna have no rights for the next year.
They're gonna starve.
Yeah.
It's
so.
There's no FEMA. There's no disaster relief in China. So
there's no surplus.
The Principal Long comes back because they want to expel these students. They want to expel them because they missed their test. Principal Long says, I was a cowherd. I was a cowherder before the revolution. Without the revolution, I'd be nothing. But it's like, you kind of just want these people to be cowherds, right? Like, you know what I mean? You don't want them to be. But anyway, but basically,
what's wrong with being a cowherd?
Nothing's wrong with being a cowherd.
Of course, he's no longer a cowherd.
He's no longer a cowherd, right? Well, he was a bamboo herd at the start of the movie. So
the one with people.
But basically, he convinces them. He goes like, "Look, you need to let the students back in," and he basically convinces the dean. He gives him kind of an emotional speech about like how, these people are peasants. We got to do this for them. It's for the revolution. And the dean is basically won over, who is the much more caricature of an intellectual than the vice principal, right? He's the one who is the gatekeeper for the bourgeoisie. He gets won over.
He's like, sure.
And then essentially, at this point on, he has realized that he has been wrong and that Principal Long is right.
He's been transformed. He's been convinced by the Mao theory. Yeah.
But also, I would argue that to a certain extent, and this is a little bit more subtle, Principal Long has also been convinced that you got to teach these people things. And
I don't know.
Well, that's my opinion.
Yeah.
And we kind of get a montage where the students are learning technical things. They're doing like chemistry or something.
Yeah.
And they're doing stuff. They're working on vehicles. But they also retain their class consciousness. They get the best of both worlds, Cherrie, because that's what a communist labor college is.
He did say, he did want more people to go to college.
Yeah. So in the end, it's
they recognize there still needs to be a college.
Yes. So before the final conflict, basically like we need to teach people knowledge, but also they'll retain class consciousness. But then there's a final conflict, which is basically the vice principal, labor. I don't really know what year this is supposed to be, but so essentially land reform and collectivization basically failed. Right. It basically failed immediately, and after the Great Leap Forward. And one of the things that happened in between the Great Leap Forward and the Cultural Revolution is you had all these moderates in the party kind of start sneaking back free market things, sneaking back individual land and all that stuff.
Yeah,
right?
So the commune didn't work, famine happened.
Yes.
And they're like, okay, maybe let's give the land back to
let people have gardens.
Yeah.
And then they're like, okay, you can have other stuff. And essentially it became more and more like individual farms.
Yeah, they didn't even, so to this day, the people still don't own the farms. The state still does, right? But they were saying
people don't own any land in China. You can't own
no one
land
knows
in China.
any. Yeah, you get 70 years of usage out of it. But the local party secretary and the vice president or vice principal, which I think is also a party member, was promoting letting the farmers be responsible for their own plot of land.
And this is presented in a way because the college students are just kind of like chilling in the village, and they have like a thing from the local party, and they come up and they go like, we're gonna do these things. We're gonna have 3 freedoms and 1 guarantee. Have you heard of that before? I guess that was like the slogan or something. So and they're saying those who work harder will earn more. Yeah. And everybody scowls. Everybody is like, right? All the students are like, this is peasant lady, comrade lady disagrees. Yeah. She's like, you're bad. She's arrested, Cherrie.
You're promoting capitalist ideas.
That's what she tells them, right?
Yeah.
You're promoting capitalist ideas.
Yeah.
Now the vice principal is like, no, we need to, this is just the way things are going. Yeah. Principal Long has an argument with him, and the vice principal gets mad, and he's like, I was also in the revolution, right? I was also in the PLA, essentially, I think he's saying. Yeah. Right? I'm a party member. Yeah. Like, you can't come at me like I'm not dedicated to the cause. Yeah. Which is an interesting dilemma, because he's not shown to have any sort of vice. He's not really shown to have any ulterior motive. He's dedicated his whole life to Communist Party. Yeah. And he
it doesn't seem like he loves communist. It's not like he's like, we gotta get capitalists.
No, he just
like
thinks
capitalism back in.
He just thinks this is a better way.
Yeah.
Right, for communism.
Yeah.
So he leaves.
For China, I don't know, for communism.
For China. So he leaves, and basically now, they want to do a struggle session.
Yeah.
With
the moderates want to do a struggle session, which is important.
Which is a very much a rewriting of history, right?
Yeah, because the moderates were busy dividing up land and restore capitalism.
Yeah. The moderates.
Yeah.
For this, I mean, obviously, you know, everyone, but essentially, the moderates in Maoist China are kind of just people.
I mean, you call them the moderates. They're just moderates compared to Mao.
Yes, I mean, in a Western sense, they're slathering communists, right?
Oh yeah,
the
leftist of the left.
But I would say
would not be.
I would say the moderates.
Yeah.
And this is my opinion. You have the people who are looking at things in sort of a realistic way.
Yeah.
Of like, yes, we're communists. We want to do all these things, but how do we feed everybody? How do we move things forward? How do we?
Yeah.
And
what's wrong with people letting people work their own land?
Well,
and they work hard.
Can you hear yourself?
I know.
How dare you speak these capitalist words in front of me?
I know.
So
even though their rationales, the moderates, right, are presented to us in a very reasonable way.
Yes.
In this world of this movie,
we're supposed to reject
it's supposed
them.
to be crazy.
We're supposed to be crazy.
Yeah.
So they bring her up in front of the whole town and school. Comrade lady, the moderates do, which is just completely crazy.
Yeah, they organize the struggle.
Organize the struggle, which is
the opposite of what.
Yeah, what would have happened, and it's also a rewriting of history of saying like struggle sessions were everyone's problem. Right? Everyone was doing this.
No. In reality, the moderates are the ones beaten to death at struggle sessions.
Yes, which almost kind of happens. Right?
Yeah, and it's not just like local like party secretaries like this, like really high up people.
Yeah.
Mao's own, the person he picked to be his successor.
Yeah.
Liu Shao's, like
until
all these
Lin Biao
important people were really humiliated, beaten to death.
Yeah.
Tortured to death.
Yes.
Right? It's very bloody.
So, but this is Cherrie, I don't know what country you're talking about. That doesn't sound like the Communist Party. So we have a struggle session. It's very calm.
I know. Yeah.
They invite her up.
Yeah.
It kind of reminded me of the trial of Socrates, because it's like they invite her up and they go like, you need to admit what you've done wrong. She's like, you know what I've done wrong? Nothing. You're wrong.
Yeah.
And then there's a side plot also with Principal Long with one of the only kind of actual villain in the whole movie.
Yeah.
Is one of the peasants wants his son to go to labor college so he can learn how to castrate pigs, because you can charge 80 cents for it. and he's like, we're gonna be rich off these pigs.
We're gonna start a small business.
We're gonna start a small business, right? He's also the guy. As soon as they talk about the expanding the own plots, he puts his fence out farther into the road so he can have a bigger
He's very proactive. Before he even went official, he's like, okay, here's my plot of land.
He's like the third Indians, the innkeepers in Les Mis.
Yeah.
Right? He's like the exact same type of character.
Yeah.
And
oh no, he's not eating people's like fingers and you know.
But you know what I mean? He's portrayed a small time scammer.
Even though he's really just a small business
just
entrepreneur.
He's just the hustler.
Yeah.
So anyway, so he wants his student so his son.
Yeah.
Now that he's learned how to castrate pigs, he's like, you don't need to be in the school anymore.
Yeah, go around and start making some money.
Make some money for us.
Yeah.
So he makes his son quit.
Yeah.
And the dean, who has been convinced now by Principal Long, and he's like an ardent communist, had given him a scalpel because he was such a good student.
Yeah, he was.
And that was the scalpel he was using to castrate the pigs.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Give me my scalpel back! You disgust me for having turned your back on communism."
Yeah. This is also one of the reasons why how the dean was transformed.
Yes.
He had seen it firsthand.
He saw.
And he went to Principal Long. He said, "You were right."
Yes. He said, "I saw what somebody does with just knowledge and no class consciousness."
Yeah, right.
Which is why we need to make people work in the fields more.
Yeah.
So he and then Principal Long at the struggle session also says what he's done wrong. He's like, the only thing I regret is that one student who learned how to castrate pigs and then left. You know, we didn't teach him how to be a good enough communist.
Yeah.
And that student is in the audience, Cherrie, and he's like so upset that he comes back to the school. And he rejects his father. He rejects the old way.
He also gets transformed.
But anyway, so essentially Principal Long wins. The vice principal is forced to leave. In reality, if this was a real struggle session, before he was killed. And his daughter comes up and throws away the letter she's gotten from him. That's a letter of introduction to a prestigious university.
To an actual university.
Yeah. And if she had gone there, she would have been a billionaire, probably at this point in time, because, she would have, been a red royalty or something. So she rejects it, and she says, no, I'm going to go to the labor college. Right?
Yeah, she's like, I'm gonna learn this is the kind of anti-revolutionary my father is.
Yes. So
he even tries to influence me.
So even though she didn't understand it at the start when she wanted to be a physicist, now she understands that she should learn how to...
she wants to be a laborer.
She wants to learn how to fix tractors.
She's been convinced by Principal Long. He was right. Long.
He has instilled class consciousness in her. So the vice principal leaves. He goes to the regional guy, and he's like, "We gotta shut this place."
Yeah, I know.
he's like, "We gotta shut this school down."
Yeah,
because Principal Long is like
going crazy.
He's running
he's succeeding. He's working.
He is
all this
succeeding.
All these red guards to be.
He's creating a red guard factory, basically, right?
The girl. Yeah. She would be in reality, she would be calling for her father to be.
She'd be like, grab him, bring him up here.
She wouldn't just say he was wrong.
No.
And like, I'm not gonna follow his steps. It's all very civil. No. Yeah, no.
But I think it's interesting though, because even though nothing bad happens, it's kind of almost like it's all a little too real. And in order to be realistic, the vice principal basically runs away. And you're like, why is he running away? They just are unhappy with him. And it's like, oh yeah, because everybody watching this, they know, right? Anybody watching this in 1975, they know what happens at the end of a struggle session.
Yeah, right.
If the whole town turns against you, right?
Yeah, he's going. Yeah, and then what happens? They want to shut the school down.
They want to shut the school down. Everybody cheers for it. They're gonna shut it down, right? But then, right at the last minute, a speech comes from who, Cherrie?
From the great Chairman Mao.
From the
savior of the people.
Chairman. I was really hoping they would get Mao in the movie. I was really hoping.
I was like, oh, is Mao gonna step off that car?
Because they're having
like a car drives in.
Yeah, because they're having this rally essentially to saying like, we're not gonna let them close down the school, right? Principal Long.
Like clearly, that's not gonna be the ending, right? Something's gonna happen. Yeah.
So Principal Long is like, they're trying to close down the school. He's on like a podium. All the students are around him. Yeah. And the school is like really built up, right? Like you see it in the background.
They're
like
bamboo buildings.
It's like 3 stories tall. It's
I know. I don't really
understand.
Where
they get all this stuff. So anyway.
Yeah.
So and they all still have the same set of students, so it couldn't have been that long. And a car drives up, and I was like, is Mao going to step out of that car?
That's what I thought too.
I know. I was really disappointed when it's just a speech.
It's just another person. Yeah.
So they come a speech, and long story short, Mao's like,
I've heard about the effort.
I heard about the effort. You guys are great, and we're not going to shut down the college. So everybody wins.
Yes.
So.
Well, not everybody.
This movie.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the vice principal's fine. Nothing bad happens to him. They just
not in the movie, yeah.
No, not in the movie, right?
Yeah, true.
I feel like this is a movie. It's almost like it was made by aliens because even
It's not. It was only made 50 years ago.
I know, right? It's made like at the same time as Star Wars, right? I think Star Wars was 1978, right? This is 3 years before Star Wars, I think.
Okay.
So like.
Hey, Star Wars is like communism.
It kind of is, right? Revolution.
Same idea.
Rebel Army.
I'm kidding. Yeah.
So here's kind of what I mean, right? So there's a concept in cinema that I think I'm not an expert on this, but this is my understanding, called the male gaze, and it's sometimes interpreted to be like whenever you have a shot and it's like low down, like at a woman, right? You pan over their legs.
Yeah, I know what male gaze.
But it's more than that. Yeah. Because it's also like all of the shots, all of the techniques, all the terminology used in cinema was all developed by men.
Yeah.
So even if a woman is doing a movie about women things with just women, not even remotely concerned about that, it will still kind of be a male gaze because she went to a film school where all the film she learned about and all of the language of film and all the things she learned was all essentially developed by men. And so that her idea of what a film should look like and what an audience's idea of what a film should look like is all kind of male gaze. Okay. So, but this movie, it's like everything I've looked through has been capitalist gaze, right? because when you see movies like this, because I have seen them from like Russia, right, or even like Nazi Germany, the things that they're saying is they're basically they want the same things economically, not politically. They want the same things economically as like American capitalism.
Oh yeah.
Right? They're saying like our system is great. We're going to have roads. We're going to have electronics. We're going to have cars.
We're going to go to the space before you do.
We're going to go to space.
But we're going for the same goal. We're just getting there differently. Have college,
and we're going to do it better than you. Yeah. Right? We're going to have more luxury goods.
Volkswagen in every
Aryan
Germans driveway.
Only the Aryan Germans, right? But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that, and we're going to do this.
Yeah.
But it's like, this is like, it completely rejects it.
Yeah.
And it assumes you already agree with it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have very good arguments because I think it assumes no one's going to argue against it.
Yeah.
Right. It doesn't really convincingly.
The opposition party has good arguments.
Yes.
By our definition, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it doesn't hide. It's presenting to you, not honestly because it's trying to rewrite history, but it's honestly telling you what they're thinking.
Yes.
It's honestly telling you what they think should happen.
Yes.
Maybe not like how it should happen because in reality they beat people up.
Yeah.
And like it's really terrible.
Yeah.
But there's no violence, right? So obviously they masked over that part.
Yeah.
But they're honest about the fact that they think, what is there to be a physicist? Like it just.
Yes.
You shouldn't try to be an intellectual.
No.
Intellectuals are bad, and if education, the traditional education, the elite, it creates elites, creates this class, creates this class of elite intellectuals.
Yes.
The answer is not to, I don't know, create the modern definition of socialism or something, right? The answer is not that. The answer is to have it's not to have humanities class.
Yeah.
The answer is to not have education.
Yeah. Well, and it's
the problem solved.
Yeah, and it's
right.
Yes, and it's muddled. Sure. It's muddled by the fact that in the end of the movie, they essentially are the same as any other college. It's just somehow the students that come out of there have class consciousness.
But also it doesn't work. It doesn't work because the party was not like that, and it honestly portrays the moderates of the party because the people who wants to divide up the land, the people who wants all these modern curriculums are party members, are revolutionaries, right? So when it goes to cultural revolution, it doesn't matter if you're old revolution. Yeah. It doesn't matter if you were in Yan'an with Mao, right? Yeah. From the beginning of times, you're gonna get.
It doesn't matter if you're a doctor who went to Principal Lung's Labor College and spends every weekend out in the countryside.
No, it doesn't matter. You're
healing water buffalo.
Yeah, you're still going to get beaten.
You're still going to get beaten to death.
Exactly. So it shows you that it's not a party's agenda.
Yeah.
At least at that time, right? It shows you it's like a Maoist agenda.
Yeah.
Against the other parts of the party, which is, accurate to history, I think. And I just don't think we talk about it enough.
Yeah, and it's a propaganda film against itself, right? It's not. There aren't really the only actual capitalist or reactionary is the kind of hustler farmer guy. Literally everybody else.
Yeah, I know.
But literally everybody else is an ardent communist.
Yes, right.
With impeccable credentials, and they're still wrong, right? And so it's.
So what the justification, when it translates to your reality, is that yes, in Cultural Revolution, we're going to beat them to death, and that's okay.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what their credentials are, position, or how hard they fought for the party.
Yes.
Right.
Right, and all these people are taken out.
Yeah.
Right, and then we have the new party, which is just a whole other thing.
Yeah.
That I can't even begin, but.
Yeah.
But that's still, and this is not that long ago.
Yeah.
And it's crazy.
No, it is crazy. I really, okay, so I honestly, I think I want to make a version of this for YouTube where I just cut in the movie while we're talking.
Yeah, I should.
But if you're interested in China, if you've heard like Maoism and you're like, well, isn't that kind of like communism? Like watch this movie, right? Watch it.
Yeah,
I mean, it
understand it
actually has a plot, right? It's I think it's fairly entertaining.
It is entertaining,
yeah. But it's just this alien worldview. Again, that because it's for people in China at the time, it doesn't really try and justify it. It just assumes you're going to go along. It's like if It's like if in a like a movie, like there's a movie called, like, I think We Were Giants, which is like about a football team in the Deep South that gets segregated, right? And or gets integrated, right? So the black and the white kids are on the same team, and they have to learn to work together. And that movie lives in a world that's racist, but the movie itself does not have to explain that racism is bad, because it assumes that you as the viewer
knows that racism is bad.
So they show racism happening.
Yeah, but they
don't then have to explain why it's bad, right? You're just supposed to be like, oh wait, like why, this is, how are they going to get over? How are they going to fix this?
So you're supposed to know that the little entrepreneur who wants to charge some money for castrating a pig, or like the party officials who wants the farmers to be responsible for their own land. They're bad people.
Yeah, you're supposed to know when somebody says work harder, you'll earn more.
Right? That's
you're supposed
dangerous.
to know that that's bad.
Yeah.
Right?
Which is
what
American what person living in China today? Idea?
What person in China today would believe that, right?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I always say, like, the Mao will be rolling around. And
Mao
like
rolling around
today, because look what happened by that definition.
What person would go like, oh, like when they go like, we're gonna follow this syllabus, or like when they go like, oh, well, these people, they don't have the qualifications to get into college. Now that's a little bit murky, because the idea is that's kind of presented as these people have never had a chance.
Oh yeah.
Right? So that's a little bit murky, but the idea of like, we want to create world-class students,
why would you
with
want
the syllabus is like, well, obviously that's supposed to be bad, right?
And like, obviously one justification today for the CCP's rule in China is like, people think it's going to get better, right? Yeah. People work hard because they think their children will have a better life than they do, right? That's very often is sort of like the party line, or even the when people from other parts of the world, that when they report on China or sort of provide justification for this Chinese model, right?
Yes.
They think but obviously when they say a better life, they mean materialistically a better life.
Yes.
And in this when was this made? 1950, 78? 75. So that's 45 years. 55 years ago. Yeah. 55 years ago, we go, no, you don't want a better...
45 years ago.
Okay, 45 years ago. Yeah. Only that long ago, we were like, you don't want a better materialistic life.
Yeah.
You don't want a life where, that's defined by these capitalist like standards.
No. You're rejecting that.
You reject that.
And obviously part of it is like, you can argue like, some of this Mao was doing because he wanted everything to prepare for the war that was going,
Yeah.
And so he didn't want people used to luxury, because he's like, And, but like, it's just...
But I think people were ready to move on. I think they knew they weren't going to take back Taiwan. Korean War has ended. Yeah. And like, they weren't going to go around the world.
1975, I think they knew that, yeah.
Yeah, and when did the Cold War end?
Officially?
Yeah.
Nixon opened up China
while
the Cultural Revolution was still going on, right?
Yeah.
I think it was 1971.
Thanks,
Nixon. Went to China, right?
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. So it's like, this movie's made, right? China's
maybe it was a lost struggle of like sort of trying to save it.
Or it's just this director wanted to learn how to make a film. And it's like... And it's like, I know they'll let me make this. So
I know, maybe.
Yeah, right?
And so
I looked them up. And they made like 6 more movies.
Okay.
And they're all like wuxia, kung fu type movies.
So they didn't continue with this propaganda.
No, none of them are famous though, right? None of them are.
Okay.
Right?
So it's like a project.
But I actually think from a technical perspective, the movie is actually shot pretty well.
Yeah, it made sense. It makes
sense. It has plot.
People had good acting.
The scenes are pretty good. There's some kind of symbolism. Whenever somebody says something about Mao, his picture's in the background.
I know. And it used, Well, this movie today, it's available and is free. It's by no way banned like the other movies that we're going to talk about.
Yeah. So if you're in China and you're listening to this, you should watch this movie.
Yeah.
Maybe don't talk about it too much because,
I think maybe they want you to talk about it too much now.
Yeah. Of like why it was
given
bad.
where we're going.
Yeah.
Seemingly. But I was just surprised to find out that it's still there. And the commentaries I've seen are half good, half bad.
Yeah.
And lots of people go, that was so, look at like how we were. Like, that was so crazy.
Yeah.
but some people go, wow, what a time.
Yeah.
And,
I mean,
and I don't know if that's the point you should be getting, but obviously that's the point the movie wanted you to get.
I mean, there is a sense of, I think, again, if you have been left behind by China's rise, right? You could watch this and go like, yeah, what Mao said would happen, what Principal Lung said would happen, happened, right? Everybody went to the cities and they forgot about the countryside, right?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I could see that, right? I could see that if you grew up in a rural area in China, right? Or in the US, right? You can say like, yeah, I mean, we send people away to these colleges, they become intellectuals, and they think they're too good for the countryside now, right?
No, I know. Yeah.
So, I mean, I could see that, right?
There's a connection to be.
And think about it. If you're 60 years old right now in China, right? So that means you were born in 1960, right? So it's like you were 15 when this movie came out, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like I mean, you were there for it, right? I mean, if you think about it, I don't know
how many people watch this movie.
It's the end of what I more mean is like, it seems like because everything is so different looking that this was generations ago, right? But you could have grown up in one of these villages, see everybody leave.
It's not that long ago,
right? And you're still there, right? You're only like in your 50s or your 60s, right? Yeah. And you know, so it's a single generation, right? Of this, right? So I don't know. It's a fascinating movie. Yes. There's a lot of sarcasm in here. But I just think we're going to talk about more Chinese movies as we go along. But I think if you want to see one movie about China that is really going to...
About Maoist China. Not current day China.
That's really going to kind of give you a sense about the insanity. Even though it doesn't really portray it.
Oh, gives you some background. So...
Okay. Anyway, so thank you for watching. I know it's been a long episode on a single film, but it was just fascinating. And what's the point of doing a podcast that nobody listens to if you can't talk about what you want to talk about?
Yeah.
So I guess
it's a little bit indulgence for ourselves.
It is very much indulgent
to talk about this for this long.
Yeah.
So.
But Cherrie, do you have anything else?
No, I think you should watch it. And if you have any thoughts, leave us a comment, a review, and subscribe. And we hope to see you next time.
And have a nice day.